Hey, and welcome to another tutorial here, where we're going to look through some basic data structures and algorithms with JavaScript. And in this tutorial, we're going to look at the find the longest word in a string challenge in from Free Code Camp. And in this challenge, we're going to start with a function. So this function find longest word length, and it's taking a string parameter. So for example, a string that would be passed in to this function would be like this. It's a sentence with multiple words. And yeah, like any sentence, each word is separated by a space, right? And the task for this challenge is to find the word that has the highest number of characters, and then return that as an integer value. So for example, quick has 5 characters, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we go through this string, we'll find that this word jumped which has 6 characters. This has the highest number of characters in the string. So from the function, if we receive this sentence as the string parameter input into the function, the function should know that jumped is the word with the highest number of characters, and the length of that word is 6 characters. And then finally return an integer value for that length, right? So return 6. Okay. So for this one, there's a few things we have to do. Um, so first we're gonna have to think about building a loop so that we can iterate over each word. So we want to be able to take each word individually and then within a loop iterate over each word, and as we come to each word we want to check the length of that word, and at the same time we need to keep track of what's the highest length so far, right? So we're going to have um, this kind of tracking variable that's going to be tracking the highest length so far, right? And then simply at every time that we go through, we iterate over each word, we check the length of that current word. If it happens to be greater than the current highest length that we've got that we're tracking, we'll update that tracking variable with the new highest length, right? And at the end, we're just going to return that whatever is the highest length at the end of the loop, right? So just to start with some, we really want to have like maybe some pseudocode or some comments here just to give us an idea, in our mind what we're going to be doing. It's hard to just start writing the code straight away. So it's good to have just to kind of build some structure with pseudocode or even just comments, right? Uh, so first of all, we're going to say, so we're going to take a string here. So this is one, it's just one variable. It's just a string variable. So we're going to need to uh, find some way of breaking that up into multiple words. So instead of having just one string, we want to have an array of words, right? An array of strings, right? And each element in the array would be each word, right? Um, so just to put a comment here, so I'm going to say split string into an array of strings. So we're going to split that string into an array of strings, and that array is going to, each element in the array, like I said, will be an individual word, right? And so when we have that array of strings, the loop is actually going to iterate over that array. So we want to loop over this array of strings, right? And just as a kind of side note, it's really array of words, right? So it's this array that we're going over is actually the array of individual words in the string, right? And within the loop, we're gonna, you know, get the length of the current word, if the current word is longer than the maximum, so the current maximum value will update maximum. Okay, and yeah, and here we'll just need also just to create some tracking variable for the maximum word length. Okay, so now having these comments or pseudocode, whatever way you want to do it, it just kind of makes it easier to visualize what the algorithm will be, and gives me some structure to actually write my code, right? So now I can actually take each piece of this. So take the first comment and then think about, okay, how can I translate this to JavaScript code to do what I need to do, right? So for this one, so I want to split the string into an array of strings. So or an array of or array of words even, which makes more sense. And it's an array of strings technically, but in my mind, it's an array of words, right? So I'm going to create a JavaScript variable. Just call it this is going to be just words. So this is going to hold all of the individual words. And the way that I get this, we're going to use the split function on the JavaScript. It's a JavaScript function built into the string object. So the way we can use that is if we take the string variable, and then we'll call the split function. And as a parameter, we need to just pass in what character within the string we want to split it up on, right? So I'm going to pass in a blank space. So this is going to represent the space between each word, right? So this split function here, what this is going to do is going to go through the string variable, and for every space that it finds in the string, it's going to split that string up into multiple strings, right? And then it's going to return that as an array of strings into my words variable here, right? So what that's going to look like is if you take this string example here, the split function is going to go through and find for every space. It's going to say, okay, take this out as an individual string, and then it's going to go through this. It's going to find another space here, and it will take this word out as an individual string, and then all the way to the end, and then I'll have this words variable will hold the array that's created from that, right? So just as a side note, there's really good documentation online for free in this developer.mozilla website. So if you come in here, there in the JavaScript section, you can look at the standard built-in objects, and one of those standard built-in objects in JavaScript is a string. Here you can find some more information about that. And also what's really nice is there's more information about the built-in functions that you can use with that string object, right? So for example, we've seen the split function so far. So here we've got an explanation of the split function, a demonstration here as well, and yeah, just some documentation about how to use it. So this is really good as well as you're coding and you wanna find out more information about what built-in functions are available to you. You can come to the developer.mozilla documentation here. It's really good. So that's just a side note there. So here, right. So the first task is complete, right? We're going to have the string variable is going to be split into an array of strings, which will be an array of each individual word, right? The next thing I wanted to do was just to create a tracking variable for the whatever's the current maximum word length. As we're looping through that array, we're going to just track the current maximum. So I'm just going to say max length and going to initialize that as a 0. All right, and okay, so the next task now, so this, as you can see, like this, building this structure beforehand is making it a lot easier for me now to actually go through and code the algorithm. So now just move on to the next comment here that I have, which is I need to loop over the array of strings, so that array of words. And within that loop, there's going to be, for each word, I'm going to check the current length, and then compare that to the current maximum length. If I find the word is greater than the current maximum, update the maximum, right? So for here, I'm going to use a for loop for this loop, and so I'll start with an index of I at 0, and I want to iterate through. I'm going to be iterating through the words array. So I want to go until the length of words, right? So this is yeah, we're using the length of that words array. So I'm going to just go through each element in that array, and yeah, going to increment the index each time so I can move on to the next element, the next index. Right. So these comments here are actually within the loop, right? So now that I have the loop structure is built, so now these comments are telling me the task that I want to actually do inside the loop, right? So the first thing is get the length of the current word. So the current word, so let me see, create a variable here with current word length, right? So this one, and for the current word is just going to be taking from that words array, just going to take whatever is the current index. That will give me the current word, right? And when I have that, I just want to take the length value, right? So at this point here, this is going to access the words array. It's going to give me the specific word, the specific element at this index, which is going to be a string variable, and then so this is going to evaluate to be that string variable, and then I'm calling dot length on that string, that particular string variable, and it's going to give me the current word length, right? So when I get the current word length, this is where then I want to compare it. So it's it's in the there's a hint here for what I'm going to need to do. So I need an if condition here. So there's going to be some comparison logic here. So I want to compare the current word length with the maximum, the current this max length variable here, the tracking variable, right? So the comparison that I'm really interested in is the current word length greater than that tracking variable, the value that we have so far as the maximum word length of the whole array of words, right? So if I just take the current word length and I'm just comparing, is that greater than max length? And if it is, then I want to update max length as the length of the current word, right? So here, in this case, I've found this current word is actually the largest word that we've iterated over so far, right? So I'm going to just update the max length. So the tracking variable is going to be updated with that current word length, and it's going to continue on through that string. So, like if we look at this, the max, just kind of imagine how this is going to work. So first, we're going to start off with a max length of 0, and the first word that we pick up from this array will be the, with 3 letters, 3 characters. So current word length here, if we take the first loop, will be starting at index 0. That's going to be the, and the length of that is 3. So we're going to come in here. This variable will be 3, and as you said, max length is going to be 0 at this point. So 3 is greater than 0. So then max length will be updated as 3, right? The loop will then continue to the next word, which will be quick, and this has 5 characters. So here, current word length will be 5, where they're going to compare 5 with the tracking variable, which will be holding 3 at the moment. So 5 is greater than 3. Max length will then be updated to 5, right? And it's going to keep on going and go through the whole array. If it gets to, Fox, which is 3 again, it's just going to skip. It's going to skip this part. So we'll have current word will be, if it's Fox, the current word length will actually be less than the tracking variable max length, in which case we're just going to skip this. It's not going to update max length, right? So it just stores that max length, and as it hits a word that's longer, it just updates it, right? And at the end of this function, then we want to actually return what is the max length. So this is going to be returning an integer value, right? And yeah, now I've got the algorithm coded out. I don't need all these comments, right? They were just to help me visualize, what the code, what the algorithm would be, and just to help me actually write the code. So I can, at this point now, these comments are just, they're not that useful. They're making it actually makes it a bit harder for to read the code. And I know it might seem good to have a comment that explains what the code does, but actually, if you look at this code, the code is clear enough. If you just read the code itself, it's clear enough what the code is doing. So having an extra comment to explain what it's doing is just, it just creates noise in the code. It's not that useful. It's better just to have code that you can just read the code and understand what clearly what the code is doing, rather than needing comments to explain the code. All right, and then so I've got this. I'm happy with that. I want to run the tests, and yeah, so free code camp say it's in the background. The free code camp website will run some tests on that code in the background, and if it passes all the tests, gives me the check mark, and I can move on, right? If, for example, there was something wrong with the code, the test would tell me, that there's something wrong, and I'll have to just keep on working through it. Okay. Yeah, just okay. Just a final side note then, as we talked before about the uh, Mozilla documentation. You'll see that there's also some documentation about the string length function, which is something you can look into yourself as well. All right.